So guys, we're back and we're doing a video today in which we're discussing how to sell your home. So tips on selling your property and also the sales process and the home buying process when you're within a chain. We've also got a few questions to ask Jamie as well, who's the lovely estate agent who's going to be showing us around. We've done a video with Jamie before on tips for buying a house. However, because he's an estate agent, his bag's going to be very much about selling properties. So we're seeing this absolutely stunning 4-bedroom detached house in Tilsley, M29. Norfolk Close. It's got a bit of history which Jamie's going to explain to us when we go in and see him. I really do hope you find this video extremely helpful, and make sure you like and subscribe for more. So we're going to go in and we're going to see Jamie now, and we're going to go through some tips on selling your property and also buying a property when you're in a chain. Come with. So I didn't do an introduction to Jamie, so I think it's only fair. So Jamie's been an estate agent for close to 2 decades now, nearly 20 years, which is a bit mad. He's done really well. He's self-employed, working for himself, recently hired some staff and stuff. And he's sold to quite a few well-known names as well, one of them being Ella Toon and the other one being Angry Ginge. Jamie he prides himself on his marketing as well, and he obviously, him being an estate agent, he's all about trying to get the best price for his customers. So he's a great person to speak to when it came to advice and experiences, especially for asking any questions, because he's probably seen it all, to be honest with you, and he can give you some really good in-depth answers to these questions as well. Instead of it being just like a quick 10-second, he's going to give you some context to it as well to work with, which is really good. As you can see, we do like to chat, we will talk a lot, but I'm hoping it's providing you as much value as humanly possible, because these are things that you don't learn when you go to school. These are things that you kind of left to go in the wilderness with, and in a no man's land as well. So I really hope that you gain some kind of value from this video. I'll shut up so you can watch the rest of the video. Make sure you like and follow for more, because there's going to be loads more videos coming out in the foreseeable as well. So give us a comment on what you want to see, and I hope you enjoy the video. Ta. So we're in the property now with Jamie, the estate agent who you might remember from last time. He's going to walk us through tips for getting your property sale ready, and also home buying and sale tips whilst you're in a chain. And then at the end, we're going to ask you a few questions as well, Jamie, which hopefully will keep you on your toes a bit as well, mate. So with this property, it's obviously a new build. We understand that you've got a bit of a preference towards new builds, especially on this estate as well. You sell quite a few on here, don't you?
Yep. So this is known as the Bridgewater View development in Tilsley, or right on the edge of Mosley Common, which is kind of where Worsley and Tilsley meet and bridges that gap. For one reason or another, I do seem to have a hell of a lot of properties on here, which I'm not complaining about. It's good. This is the Shrewsbury style of the red row.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. There's just so many different names of the builds, but I'm pretty sure this is the Shrewsbury. So it's probably one of the more common or more popular designed builds, with the integrated garage, not integrated, the attached garage rather than a proper hall where you have a living room that you come through.
Yeah.
And a large kitchen diner to the rear. But yeah, these I like marketing these homes as well, because they market really well, and usually the buyers who come to view this type of home want a turnkey property. Yeah. So I want to say it's easier. It probably is. It's easier than selling something that's run down and needs a lot of work doing to it, I suppose.
Yeah, so something that's already got pretty much ready to move in, more or less, give or take.
Yeah, definitely.
And then with this property as well in particular, because I think obviously you're telling us the story a little bit about it before, which I think will be really useful for people watching. What's the story with this property then as well? So what's the story of the sellers, and why is it on the market, and what's it listed on for as well at the moment?
Okay, so I first became aware of this property nearly 2 years ago. The lady who owns it, which I'll obviously come the full circle story in a minute, we'll talk about. The lady who owns it reached out to me. She said, "You're selling loads on this estate. Can you come and help me with mine? I've had it on the market for X amount of months. I'm having no joy." I came to look at it at the time, and it was tenanted, which can be fine, but in this particular case, it wasn't great. It was doing the property no favours. The tenant weren't living in the house how the seller would definitely want it to have been presented. It was rough around the edges. It was untidy. The garden was left to rack and ruin. Yeah, the kitchen looked like it had been in for 15 years rather than 15 months. And it just wasn't a new build anymore. It was something that needed somebody to come in and spend a bit of money in a partial cosmetic refurb.
Yeah.
And I fed that back. But the seller's circumstances meant she couldn't do anything about it. She couldn't afford to evict the tenant because then she'd lose the monthly income.
Yeah.
She couldn't afford to spend money on the property doing it up, which is what I'd advised her to do, because the tenant was still living in it, and that would have involved a few £1,000s being spent.
Yeah.
But I knew that was what was needed in order to present, well, what we see today.
Yeah.
So I advised that that's what she should do. She couldn't do those things. So I politely sort of said, I'm probably not the estate agent.
Staying away from it, yeah.
Yeah, and I think she was a little bit surprised because she'd had 3 other estate agents who were all just chasing the instruction and chasing the listing. Yeah, I'll put it on. I'll stick a for sale sign outside because they want market share. But none of them were selling it. And they were even asking for more than what I told her the price should be. So price-wise, these are all valued in and around 400,000. When I came to see it, I said, I will struggle to get you 370, 375. And not because it needed £25,000 worth of work, but because the perception would be that the type of people who buy this home are young families, first-timers who want a turnkey property. They've then not got £5,000, £10,000, £15,000 in their back pocket to spend on the cosmetics of the house. So you reduce your target audience.
Immediately,
Yeah, and I think the value or the perception of the value drops rather than the bricks and mortar value. And that was what she was finding. So she had it on with one agent, then another agent, then she tried down the auction route. I know this because I was keeping my eye on the house in the area. And we kept in touch. And then eventually she said, right, I'm managing to get the tenant out. Can you come round and give me some advice? Which I did.
Yeah.
I said, right, do this, do that, paint here, new carpets, let's do the gardens, new fence panels, whatever was needed to present a new build again. She did it. I came in, I met them. It is like a different home. And now I'm confident I'll get them the 400,000 at least.
Wow. And what did they have it listed on originally with the other agents?
I think they even started above 400 to begin with. Wow. Then it went to 395. Then it went to 385, 380, 375. Then it was at auction. I don't know what the starting bid would have been, but it would have been a hell of a lot lower, and it wasn't happening. And at the time, I was saying 375's pushing it.
Yeah.
But now I'm going to be listing this at offers in excess of 400,000.
And confident that they'll be able to achieve it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've sold one of these at 400,000 6 months ago. And this one's probably presented. Well, it's brand spanking. It's all been
it's good to go, isn't it? It's good to go for someone to come into as well. Like you say, I know that obviously the last time that we spoke as well, you spoke to us and you've said what your thoughts are around presenting the property as seen versus having some kind of furniture and just what's it called, a show home, turn it into a show home. So how come they've opted to keep everything out of this one as well? Is it just...
Well, the furniture that was in it previously belonged to the tenant, so they didn't have their own stuff in it. Usually my advice to people is if you live in the house, you've normally got a better standard of furniture, better taste. Maybe not better taste, that's unfair, but it's your taste, so you can present it like a show home, how you would want it. But I often say to people, unless you're going to do it like how maybe Red Row would present their show homes, kind of don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't start going overboard. If it's empty, I'd rather that than it be mismatch of furniture and stuff that doesn't quite go. Clutter, yeah. So, and the beauty of marketing now is that we can use things like AI, ChatGPT, stuff like that. I'm taking my photos here today after you go. I will be able to say, ChatGPT, create me a boutique style living room, create me an ultra modern media wall living room, and I can create that and it will look like it's come from my lens. And then on the listing I'll say AI generated, but it will help me be able to showcase
people
what it could be like.
Wow.
Which is unbelievable. I try and steer away from that where I can, because I like to not that it's misleading, but not everybody's going to know it's AI.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's more powerful if we need to. If you've got a small bedroom upstairs, let's say, and you think, how can a bed fit in that? Well, I can show you here. And
there you go. You've got it there, because some people do better with visual aids rather than...
Yeah, well,
some people can't visualise it, can they?
No, and that's exactly why Red Row and Bellway and all them homes, if you go to the show home, that's why they're all kitted out and presented like that, to help you visualise what it would be like.
So we're in the kitchen, as you can see. It's quite a big kitchen as well, isn't it? But we're in here now, and we're going to talk to Jamie about the sales process. So if you, as an individual, is going to any kind of estate agent, or if you're putting your property on with Jamie in particular, what to expect, what's the process, how does it work, kind of what are the next steps as well. So how would it work, Jamie? Putting on a property through you, how would the process normally look like?
About that initial communication. Now, each time the message might be a bit different. So sometimes somebody would say, "Hi mate, I've seen one of your houses, love to come and view it. I've got one that needs selling as well if you want to have a chat about that."
Yeah.
That can be one way. Somebody might just say, thinking of moving, don't know where to begin, never sold before because they've only bought a house. What do I need to do? And then there's the others who say, I've had a few estate agents, I want one more, can you be one of them, and do it like that. So when we then, I would call them and just have a more of an informal chat. When you said like, how does it work with me putting a property on, it will be very different to a corporate or a high street estate agent.
Yeah.
Because I'm not chasing numbers, I'm not chasing statistics, I'm not chasing targets where it's about, get it in, I'll see you tomorrow, get it on. That's not how I work. So it would be an informal chat, make sure they're cool with me.
Yeah.
And me with them. Make sure that we're on the same page, and I think they'll be nice to work for, and I want them to know that the way I operate is very different to the other type of agents. So I want them to know from the off, if they're going to compare me to a high street or a corporate,
It's not.
don't bother speaking to me. So that initial chat will be that. Usually I'll find out a bit more about them, their circumstances. So then when I turn up for the valuation, and again, I don't even like saying that because you picture a suit wearing estate agent coming in with a file saying, this is what it's worth, sign here, let's go. So I'm not like that. I don't come with any glossy nonsense. We just have a chat, honestly, just an honest chat, a transparent valuation, and say, look, this is what I think it's worth on paper, this is what I've sold that one for, this is what that one went for.
Yeah.
But because you've done this, that and the other, and with my marketing, I think I can do that for you. Here's how it works. And then they might ask me about something else that they've seen. They might ask me about mortgages, which obviously that's where you come in. They might ask me about legals and solicitors, energy certificates. So there's a lot more moving components, but I like to not bombard them on that initial meeting and just talk about what they've got me around for, which is, what's my house worth? How long will it probably take? Where do I begin? Yeah, that's the initial process, I would say.
With kind of houses that you put on, especially around this area in particular, I'm assuming that most people are in a chain, aren't they? They're looking to sell this to find another property that they've then found as well. Is your approach and the way that you might give advice and talk your clients through, is it slightly different, or is it more or less the same?
I mean, the basis for each sort of conversation will be the same, but the strategy or the marketing strategy or the approach to it would differ based on the clients or the personal circumstances. So if somebody's seen a house that they want, and they're only moving for that house, we need to take action, because if I'm doing more of a conservative approach where we're drip feeding it into the socials and then we're slowly hitting the portals, they've not got the time for that. So it needs to be a bit more of a quick fix, quick turnaround. And we'll probably also need to price it more attractively to make sure they get people in more on like an open day or a block booking, so they don't miss out on that.
Yeah.
I always say as well, pricing it more attractively doesn't necessarily mean selling it cheaper. It just means it's a more attractive, a bit like let's get 20 people through the door on a Saturday, as opposed to a more ambitious approach that might see the odd one come in and then we might have to reduce.
I do think that's an important one as well, because there's a lot of people that think that the price that you set is kind of, and obviously when I speak to people that are looking to purchase properties as well, they do come to me and they get a little bit confused over offers over, or the different terminologies that are used, or offers in excess of. It's like, oh, Haydn, does that mean that we have to offer 410 when it's up for 405, or like, you know what I mean? I think there's a lot of jargon that does throw people off, but
there's and some people don't understand it. So it does throw people off. So if people see offers over 400, they don't know, does that mean they want 420? Does that mean if I give you £1 more, it's mine? And some people think that they literally offer slightly more and they've got the house.
Yeah.
In actual fact, I always try and maybe liken it to more like the eBay sort of way of marketing properties. If the price is attractive enough so that it meets Rightmove's price brackets, it's purely a way of the advert being found so that more or the right people see the listing and then they come through the door.
Makes sense.
Then if 5 people want it, 6 people want it, or even just 2 people want it, the idea is, well, who wants it most?
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to go mental. Sometimes it does, but it can be that, in fact, it doesn't go over. It stays where it is. or even a little bit lower, but the public have told us that that's where it is. So my job as the marketing agent isn't to accurately say your house is worth £406,000 and 220 pence, because how the hell do I know that, and how can anybody say that? But what we can say is, okay, it's going to fall in the 400,000 search bracket. Your type of buyers need to see this in that 400 bracket. It may end up at 410. It may be 390, but let's make sure we get the bracket right. That's where the valuation or the marketing process would start, and getting the right pricing point, I suppose, is key at that point.
We're coming to showing people around the properties, and you're doing the viewings and you're looking at people. From a perspective of you as the estate agent advising your sellers who to go for, what kind of things would you be looking for? What would be like, right, I really like this guy, or I really like this woman, or I really like this family, or, you know what, stay clear from him, he's a bit...
Yeah, I mean, it's quite... You have to be careful, because a lot of sellers will take my advice and go with my gut, my instinct, but at the same time, they have to make the final and ultimate decision.
Yeah. You can't lead them into a decision.
Yeah, and I, you know, estate agents have a bad name back in the day from... You hear people saying, "I'm sure it was his mate," or "I'm sure it was a builder."
And jobs,
and I know that happened, and possibly still does. I don't know, certainly not with me. But that's where kind of like you have buyers who are like, "Have you even put my offer forward? Have you presented me in the best light? And have you done this?" Absolutely, of course. But the seller will make a decision based on what's right for them. Most sellers I deal with, because it tends to be lived-in family homes, they want somebody else who's going to live in it and take over that, which is fine. I try and remove that emotion from them sometimes and say, it's nice, but the minute you leave here, you're going to forget about it. If somebody offers you more and they're an investor, so be it. That's where I can remove the emotion. But also, one other thing that I always say this is a tip for buyers actually. Don't try and play that game where you pretend you're not interested. Do you know what I mean? They would come in and go, it's okay, or this, or they'll pick it apart and say, we're seeing another down the road, we've got this. If the next couple come in and they're like, oh my God, I love it, like my mum lives there, my kids are going to go to that school, I work there, this is for me. My feedback to the seller is, the second one, we need to go with them. And it doesn't mean that we're going to go, they want to pay more. It just means that the first ones I felt were a little bit unsure. And even if they then come back and make a nice offer, I'm still not convinced they're entirely for this house. Because I don't know that they were playing a game. So I would say, just tell me, I want it, I like it, because I'm going to feed that back. The sellers make the choice. So don't pretend you don't like the house. Just tell us.
Right, so we've talked with Jamie before about getting your property ready, valuation ready as well, and the next steps. But it's important after your property's been valued, you've had the initial consultation with an estate agent or Jamie, what the next steps would then be after you've come to an agreement on the price. So what would be the next stage after you've come to the agreement?
So if the client says, hi Jamie, thanks for the other day, I'm looking to get the property on the market, where do we go from here? So normally we will, or during the initial meeting, I will have done a walk round, and I normally give tips and hints on how to best get your house ready for the market. Sometimes it's things as simple as, I need you to mow the lawn, I need you to paint your front doorstep, I need you to de-weed, whatever it may be. You know, if a carpet needs changing or paintwork needs touching up, it's stuff like that. So I'd normally say, look, you need to get those things ready and tell me when you think you'll have that done, so I can then come round with the photographer, with the videographer, and we can start the marketing process. Normally I'd say I need a few days anyway, because that's how it works, but that usually people like that, at least if I give them a full weekend to get those things done. I mean, some people are ready, and they say, I'm ready to go, but obviously the way I work, I've got to book somebody in to come with the camera and the video. I'd also be saying to people, you need to get your mindset ready. It's quite important. This is not an easy decision. This is probably one of the biggest decisions you're ever going to make. Sometimes the biggest. It might be your last ever move, it might be your first move, or it might be a life-changing move. You've got to get your mindset ready. There's going to be a lot of stress involved. It's not going to be smooth sailing, no matter how great I think I am, no matter how great your buyer might be. There's so many moving components and things that you have to
There's a lot that could go wrong that you've never even thought of before.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got to prepare yourself mentally. It can be quite overwhelming when you see a for sale sign go up outside and you see your advert hit right move and all your neighbours are having a nosy at your bedroom all of a sudden. So be okay with that. Just accept it. It's happening.
It's tough.
Yeah. And then the way I work, again, probably, which will differ to a lot of your corporate agents, is that I'm not rushing it on. I'm not rushing to come and take your pics so it's on that night. So I can boast about having sold it in 24 hours. That's not good. So I would normally take my time with the marketing. Then I'd come and perhaps use the socials, so like Facebook Live video and Instagram Reel, and just drip it into the market slowly to build up that initial interest. Then we'd stick a for sale sign outside so that the phone calls can start coming from passing traffic. Then we'd hit the portals with a bit more information. Sorry, not the portals, the socials, with a bit more info, more photos, the price, the full address. Then we hit the portals. Now that might be a 10-day process. Sometimes 2 weeks if we've got the luxury of that. But during that time, I might have done early bird viewings, so off-market early bird viewings, which is amazing because you can get a bit of feedback before you've hit the wider audience.
Is it feedback from anything? So it could be like price, could be
the price main one, because if you're going live with something at a point that you think wow, but the feedback's like no, you think maybe we're pushing this. But more often than not, it can be the other way. People are like, oh my God, I love it. I'm not quite ready, but this is amazing. I'd pay that all day long. Think,
and then they're like, right.
Well, we're pushing this then. So there's that way, which is great. But also that's part of my service, what I do as the early bird viewings, specifically for people who are perhaps on my social pages who follow me. People ring me and say, can I be on your register and your books? And it's an old-fashioned term, estate agent. It's nonsense. Yeah, I've got a books there, I've got register. In reality, when it hits right move, you'll get an email.
It's free game.
Yeah, and it'll be just a generic, here's another house that's similar to the one that you looked at. Do you want to come and see it? In reality, if you're on, I'm plugging my own Facebook page, if you're on my Facebook or Insta, you'll see an early bird preview. Get in there before it hits the portals. You sort of...
It's an incentive to follow you as well, isn't it?
Definitely. And I just think that's kind of the way it's going anyway in this industry. So fast forward a bit, then we get ready, the marketing's done and we're ready to go live, everybody's happy. But the other thing that I do say to the seller in particular is they need to have made sure that this is a viable option financially. Often people will say, let's get it on, let's sell, we've seen a house that we like or we want to buy something, we've got X amount, and all they've done is go online, done a quick input of data, which you know better than anybody. They can put anything they want and anybody can get an AIP. In reality, they need to speak to a proper person and find out, can I actually do this? And based on me selling at this figure and me buying at that figure, what are my repayments? Will this work? What if worst case it downvalues? What if I end up in a bidding war and I have to pay more? Make sure you're comfortable with all those different scenarios.
Options that could occur,
And in an ever-changing market with things like stamp duty increases all of a sudden, mortgage rates that might go up, let's prepare yourself for option B of we sell your property, but in 3 months' time your buyer backs out. We have to start again, but now the interest rates have gone up. Stamp duty's changed. The house that you want to buy has all of a sudden in that area gone up in value.
But then yours might have reduced in value.
Yeah, there's all different. Let's prepare yourself for worst case scenarios. And most agents just come in and give it all the rosy. It'll be amazing. We'll get you this. We'll get you that. You'll be done in no time. We'll have a bidding war, and it can happen, but it doesn't always. In fact, it doesn't in most cases. So I just like to give them a reality check.
It's good.
Because I'm not, like I say, it's only me. I'm on my own. I'm accountable. They can't ring an office and you go, oh, Jamie's not in for a week. It's me. So I have to face the music if what I say doesn't
Jamie, you
materialise.
said this, you said that. It's like,
Yeah, exactly. It's my name on the board and it's me they see in little.
A very, very important thing that you've touched on is just bracing and being prepared for the worst and the realistic situations, because like you said, as soon as it comes to someone buying a house, I suppose anything property related, you can be in the clouds a bit, can't you? It's a bit dreamy and a bit, oh, this is what we think it's going to be like. It's like, no.
And everybody thinks, well, most people think that their house is worth more than everybody else's.
It's like a baby, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know. It's good analogy. I don't know how many times you go in and you go, oh, Mine's the biggest on the plot, on the development. Mine's got the biggest garden. The builder built mine for himself. And I'm in there going, oh, right, of course you did. It's mad because your neighbour said that as well. My carpets are nicer, but I've got fitted wardrobes. And these are nice cosmetic things, but people are in the clouds and they think their house is worth more than everybody else's. There are others who really know the ins and outs and the nooks and crannies of the house, and they probably downplay it a bit more. But a lot of people do. Everybody wants the most for their house. And then when they go and see one, they rip it apart and say, well, actually,
I want it for
there. So you can't have it both ways, can you?
Fair enough.
Yeah. So I do have to set people with that reality check of, like I say, they say, look, I appreciate yours is beautiful, yours is lovely, but I'm not here to value your furniture. I'm not here to value those. Actually, you might have chose a thicker, more luscious carpet, or you might have gone for porcelain tiles over some vinyl. And they do help saleability, but ultimately, a mortgage lender's coming in, a surveyor. The market is dictated and determined by price per square foot, area, postcode, plot size. And that puts you in the bracket, the price bracket that your house is worth.
Yeah.
The inners are then what enable me to market it more attractively, that might help me get you more, but there's no guarantees.
Yeah.
We have to hope that somebody sees the value in those extras and add-ons and those little
And
bits.
if it fits with what their circumstances are as well, yeah.
People often say, oh, I've just put new wardrobes in, so mine must be worth 10 grand more. If that was the case, you just put new wardrobes in every month and keep adding 10 grand value to your house.
Right, so I put on socials as well, just a few questions to ask Jamie and myself as well. There was quite a mixed match of questions. Most of the questions were based around after the property's been on the market and the actual sales process, so obviously the pitfalls and everything that can be involved whilst the property's going through. The first one that we've got, how to go about negotiating works or money off after a survey's been conducted. So I think what they mean by is it survey's gone in, found some stuff. How do we go about negotiating the price on that? Funny asking an estate agent that.
So I work for the seller, so I hate this. So I've had one today. They'll ring and say, I've had my survey, it's come back, it says such and such want doing, so I'm going to get quotes. And you know straight away they're already thinking about trying to knock the price down. So obviously my interest is getting the best price for my client. So I would already at that point say to them, look, if these are things that have come up that are generic, that you can see, if you knew the boiler was dated and now your survey says the boiler's dated, you're not having a grand off. But to answer the question, which is saying how to go about negotiating price off, right, let's flip it the other way and pretend I'm helping these guys. It would be, first of all, what type of work is required. It might be something that you walk away from. It might be structural. It might be something that's not, or it's going to cost so much that it's not a viable purchase anymore.
Yeah.
But the best way to do it is to say, look, I've had some reports back. I do need to get some quotes. I am still definitely interested in a property, because what you don't want to do is let the agent tell the seller and then they get scared, which is the natural first response.
Yeah.
I am interested. Don't worry. I'm just for my peace of mind. However,
the way you word it, the way, okay. Because it is all about communication at the end of the day, isn't it?
Definitely. And then get those quotes. It might be a little bit annoying for the seller because you might have to have people coming round. Sometimes these quotes can be done visually from photos, videos, from outside. And then it's up to you how you act. Now, you might say, look, these are unforeseen costs. It's going to cost me a further £10,000. Naturally, buyers say, I want 10,000 off. Sellers say no. Sometimes you'd say, can we meet in the middle? Some sellers just stay firm and say, no, my house is priced at this because of those things. Or they could say, actually, do you know what? I didn't know that myself, so let's have a sensible conversation. But ultimately, it's don't frighten the seller off. Don't insult them. Yeah. Don't sort of put them on the back foot. Just still declare your interest. Explain that some things have come up that you didn't think about.
Do you want to get sorted, yeah?
We need to get them looked at, sorted, or at least get some prices just to make sure that everything's still okay. That's the best approach.
That makes total sense, that, yeah. Again, most of it is just boiling down to communicating, isn't it? It's just communicate, say what you're feeling, but in a way that's obviously not going to terrify the estate agent and the seller as well. If you suspect an estate agent is lying about viewings, can you break contract? So I think in this one, it's someone who's actually selling and they've been lying about viewings that are being conducted.
Right. I've actually never... So the seller would be thinking, so the estate agent saying, we've had some viewings, let's say it's an empty house, for example, and they're probably just trying to keep them on board. Yeah. Oh, we've had viewings. Yeah, that is an odd one. Well, I would definitely say, I mean, I don't know what the contractual terms are with each agent, but you would definitely have grounds for saying, hold on a minute, you told me somebody viewed. I've got evidence that nobody did, or that didn't happen. You would just walk away.
Yeah.
Why would you even want to stay with that agent ever again?
I was just thinking then, as you're going through, the fact that you're even thinking that of your estate agent in the first place as well.
No, definitely. And a lot of agents tie people into 6 months, 3 months contract. I never tie anybody into contracts. It's a 0-day rolling agreement. And there's no catch there. But if the minute somebody says, I don't want you as my agent, why on earth would I say, well, you've got to stay with me for 6 months? They're off the next day.
They're gone.
Luckily, I don't get many of them. But if the agent even has to tie you in, straight away, let's strip it back.
It's a red flag, isn't it?
Yeah, if the agent says you're in with us for 3 months, 6 months, I would be saying, hold on, you told me my house is worth this, you said you can sell it, your marketing's great, you're all singing, all dancing. I'll shake your hand, you don't need to tie me in. I'll sign a contract, but let's just give it a go. Yeah. So if they tie you in for long periods, bin them off.
Right, okay, this one's quite an interesting one. So tips on how to choose a solicitor and what to expect from solicitor costs.
Right, so solicitors, most of the time, don't like estate agents because we're seen to them as being an annoyance, a third-party annoyance. Once we've done our job, get out of the way. So they don't really like us that much. I do have some good relationships with some solicitors, I must say. So I tend to recommend and refer to people who like me, because I am going to be on to them, or Gemma, who works for me, is going to be ringing them and saying, where are we up to, where are we going? And what we don't want is them to not like us and not give us the right info. So choosing the solicitor, I mean, always a recommendation. Do you want to be able to walk into them on a high street? Some people like that. In reality, it doesn't matter. They could be on the moon. I would say don't look at reviews. I know that sounds daft, but all solicitors' reviews will be terrible because nobody's ever going to log on and go, my solicitor was great, and give a 5-star. You'll only see the bad stuff. Yeah. So there's no point. Some are more localised and personal and old-fashioned, where they still lick a second-class envelope that gets sent.
Yeah. There's a guy that I've spoke to before, and he still refuses to use everything's paperwork.
Yeah, and they don't pick up the phone to each other ever. They talk to each other, solicitors, like the pieces of rubbish. They go, as per my previous communication, sirs, and all that. Jesus Christ, guys, we're all trying to do the same thing. So, yeah, I would just say if you can speak to the conveyancer and they're a normal person, they're nice. If your agent has a good relationship with them, that's always a good sign. And the 2 or 3 that I work with regularly, I can send them a WhatsApp, I can do them a voice note, I can drop them a text. They get back to me. Yeah. They treat me like a normal person. I do them. We'll have a talk about clients sometimes, bloody hell, or whatever. I like that. And the client should like that because you're dealing with normal people.
Yes.
Rather than a corporate entity or an old-fashioned, stuck in the dark ages one.
Old-fashioned ones are especially if you're trying to sell quick. And you come across it.
A lot of them are sticklers, and really they raise inquiries and questions that even the buyer them. Yeah, they come on. Let's take a view.
They do not need to. I think that's a really important one. That, to be honest with you, with inquiries like that, it's a whole different subject in itself. Yeah. But yeah, so some things don't need to be raised. But then again, especially with corporate ones, I use this analogy all the time. It's a bit like an IKEA flat pack. Sometimes you don't need to use all the screws to be perfectly fine. Yeah. But obviously they'll put out insurance and stuff just in case it does fall apart. Well, it's on your head, isn't it? Because you've not used the correct screws that we've given you. So that's kind of what inquiries are like. But so this one's an interesting one for you here, Jamie. So when an agent says, we have received the higher offer, is that something that they'll ever lie about to get higher offers in?
I'm sure it is. Yeah. Have I done that before? So I mean, you'd like to think, it's like anything in life, you'd like to think someone's being genuine with you. Let's imagine you're selling an item on Facebook Marketplace for 50 quid and someone offers you, say, I've had 60. What's to stop you saying that? Yeah, so a bit different selling, a house. But most cases, you'd like to think the agent's being honest and genuine. It's all about...
Do you think there's any way of testing that?
I don't know, because...
It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a gamble involved. If you suspect it and think, well, okay, let's say I was speaking to a buyer and I was being genuine and say, look, there is higher interest. It doesn't necessarily mean that offer is going to be accepted because it's higher. The circumstances might not necessarily be as favourable as theirs. I normally would say, there is a higher offer, but your position's better. So we're going to let the sellers decide. It's up to you if you want to increase your offer to make yourself stand out completely, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
But then don't be surprised when I ring you and say they've gone with them. So that's the way I'd normally position it.
That makes sense.
Being honest and truthful. And then they can then decide, well, is this house worth more to me? Am I prepared to pay that bit more? Or do I think he's trying to extract more out of me? Ultimately, even if you think the agent is trying to extract more out of you, are you prepared to pay it for that house? If you want the house, go for it. If not, and you think it's not worth it, don't go for it.
Yeah. A property on the market. So if viewings are quiet, is it best to stay on the market, or what are the benefits to coming off the market and trying at another time?
Very good question, that. And there definitely are benefits to coming off. If I was the agent acting for the client and the house was on, you'd be saying like, keep it on, please stay on. But in reality, the best advice to that client at that time, let's say it's been on for a few months, it's not getting interest. It'd be different if the house has been on for a while, but it's getting loads of viewings, but not quite the offers. We know we're doing something right. Something just needs tweaking, usually the price, because the offers, the viewings are coming. Let's say it's just quiet, it's dead, nothing's happening. Now, it all boils back down to price, ultimately. Yeah. So if your agent hasn't had the conversation about you reducing your price, or you are unwilling to drop your price, your advert, your listing will have become stale on the portals. You've dropped down the pecking order, nobody's finding you, and all the new people who are coming to the market have seen that you've been on for 3 months and they think that something's wrong. Yeah. If I was the second agent coming in to that house, I'd be saying, get your house off with them, on with me. I'll list it brand new. It'll be a new listing. All the new buyers are seeing it fresh for the first time, back at the top of the pops, and it'll give us the best chance of getting you this price that you want. As the first selling agent, either really you need to take it off and put it on now with another agent, which obviously I don't want them to do, or take it off, leave it off Rightmove for, I think it's 7 weeks or 49 days or something, because at that point, when you relist it, Rightmove acknowledges it as a new listing. Yeah. If you do it before then, it goes back on with the default date of the previous listing. The reason for that is a lot of estate agents used to try and trick the system.
Oh, yeah.
To take them off, put them back on to pretend they were new listings.
Algorithm manipulation, yeah.
Well, Rightmove are clever now, and they've got AI recognition. And so even if you try and do it and change the photo order around, they'll know. So take it off, change your agent. Those are you two.
Maybe spruce up the images a little bit as well.
Yeah, well, ultimately the marketing needs to be right. If the photos aren't great, let's say you're on with an agent, there's no video, there's no floor plan, the photos are garbage, there's still a Christmas tree in your living room in April, there's snow on your roof, there's a car on the drive, all them things, get it off. Sack that agent because they shouldn't have done that to begin with, or at least get them back to redo it properly.
Yeah.
But just put it on with someone else. I'll take it off and let it breathe.
Yeah.
Sorry, going back on the taking it off bit, can you afford to do that in terms of timescale wise? Because if you're doing this to buy that house, well, you can't take it off. So sometimes that's not an option. If you're doing this and let's just see how it goes, take it off, start again. Fine, do it.
So do you think, say, it was someone who was in a chain that needed this to sell ASAP to get the next property, would you be advising them, right, maybe just knock it on the head, or let's spruce up the images a little bit and maybe look at price then? Is that?
Yeah, it's price and marketing. They can't take it off because the 7 weeks, it's 2 months that they're going to just lose. And who in the right mind in that chain would accept that further up or even below? They just wouldn't. Yeah. So you need to take one of those actions, spruce them. You might be jobs in the house that need doing. You might be getting viewings and everybody's going, I don't know. Sometimes it can be a case of refurbing a house like this.
Yeah.
I know this is going to work. So that's all it takes. Sometimes this is a case in point. They took it off with one agent, took my advice, refurbished the house, putting it on with me. It's going to be a new listing at a new pricing point that nobody probably has seen before, and it'll sell.
It'll go. It's how to sell your house when a mortgage renewal is due. So that one's quite an interesting one. There's a few different things you can do. You can either go on a tracker mortgage if you're at the end of your renewal period, so then there's no early repayment charges, or you can just lock in for another fixed and port your mortgage over as well. It depends on your circumstances, but if it's something you need to have a chat about, get in touch. What to consider when setting a completion date is another question that we've got here. So maybe more for a solicitor, but we'll ask anyway, just from your experience.
So what to consider when setting the date would be, well, what's going on for you personally at that time. You don't want to be moving home the day before you're due to go on holiday or the day before you're due to give birth. I don't know. I'm just thinking, let's not set your date. Usually you can't set the date too far ahead anyway. It's normally like within 3 or 4 weeks you get sort of like, right, the solicitors have agreed, the buyer's happy, I'm happy as the seller, or I'm happy as the buyer. Let's agree that that's the date we're going to do it. Then you can start planning around that, and you usually wouldn't have agreed to that date if it didn't suit anyway. Yeah. But you need to start thinking about that being quite a stressful day, because if you're in the middle of a chain, you've got a buyer waiting outside your house, potentially in a van, whilst you're not quite ready into the next one and they're still emptying their house. So there's a lot to consider when you know the date. Setting the date, to answer the question, is more just making sure it suits your plans.
Whenever it works for you.
Whenever it works, yeah. But everybody has to be in line. If there's multiple people within that chain, you can't just say, I want that date. Well, your buyer has to have it, your seller, the people above, they all have to be in agreement.
This is not any of the questions as well, but just out of curiosity, what's the biggest chain that you've sold?
Actually, Lambert Meadow, I'm pointing because it's over there. Number 9 Lambert Meadow completed last Friday, and there were 8 in the chain, and I was number 3, so right in there. And I was getting calls from estate agents down south who were saying, "Which one are you?" And I didn't know who was who. We were dead lucky because there was all the estate agents in there seemed decent.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you're involved in a chain where it's one of the
messy.
Yeah, if it's one of the online agents, they're involved. I often say to sellers, you might want to reconsider this, because I have them fall through more often than not, because there's nobody talking to solicitors. There's nobody chasing. There's no accountability. It is a nightmare.
What to do when there is evidence of serious safety issues and we've got quotes for them? So I'm assuming that's from the survey.
Yeah, I mean, if there's serious safety issues, you might want to consider walking away. But if it's the house for you and whatever, you just need to obviously chat with the seller, bring it to the seller's attention. They might not be aware of it themselves. They might be saying, geez, really, what do we get this sorted? The sellers might need to be made aware, because if this buyer is going to back out, the seller needs to get this remedied, because it's going to come up again. But it's just that involves a serious, sensible chat with seller, with solicitors, with estate agent, and coming to a conclusion that everybody's happy with.
Open communication again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because there's sometimes where I've spoken to clients in the past and I've said, just have a conversation, speak to everyone like the normal human beings, which they are, and just have a normal chat. But then sometimes, obviously, sellers or the buyers can be completely unreasonable. But it is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
You can't make a good deal with a bad person, can you? So, yeah. The other questions, this is one that we were talking briefly about before. So this is something that I've not got too much experience on as well. But someone's asked the question about modern method of auction. What's your thoughts on the modern method of auction? So
I've got quite a lot of experience with the modern method of auction. I worked with a firm, or alongside a firm, since 2008-9. We were one of the first.
You were busy then, weren't it?
Yeah, but it was mental. Oh yeah, exactly. Well, that was why I think they set up around that time, because I remember the company I worked for, we were one of the first agencies that they got in touch with. Wow. In the country. So I had quite a lot of experience with it, and I used to actually go and attend the in-person auctions. They were held at there were some were at the Bolton football stadium, some were at the Man City stadium. So I used to go in person and witness it. So it would be a modern method of auction, which is where it's kind of like an eBay for a house. So you put it on at a starting price or a guide price. There's a reserve that's hidden and only the estate agent and the seller knows, and the auction department. And buyers, viewers would bid openly, and they'd be visible to the public. Yeah. The marketing side of it would be just the same as normal. Right. Photos of a house, viewings, whether open day, whether just normally done. And then after 30 days, if the property had not surpassed the reserve price, it would be relisted, or the seller had an option of taking the highest amount that was there. Again, a bit like an eBay. There can be a buy it now option as well. Yeah. Now, it can work for some, but I don't recommend it for everyone. My thoughts are, if you have a saleable property and it's in a saleable area and it's kind of the norm, it's nothing that's wildly different, it's just a standard home, that's still nice, I don't think you need to go down this modern method of auction route. It can be off-putting to buyers, because some buyers get hit with a massive fee at the...
It's also a pain in the ass for the mortgages as well.
Yeah, I believe so.
Pain in the arse, yeah.
Jeez, right. So, well, so it's packaged to a seller that there's nothing for you to pay. There's no fee for you to pay. But in reality, that fee just gets shoved to the buyer to pay. But what they normally do is say, well, I'm going to incorporate that into my offer. So the buyer still is paying by usually selling their property at a slightly reduced price. So they're not benefiting. There are benefits. Normally, the buyer has to put a reservation fee down right away. So there's security. Quicker turnaround, normally 56 days or something like that to completion or exchange, I can't remember, as long as it's moving along. So you've got that security element of it, which suits people. I normally say if your house is something that is unique, different, and we cannot know what the value of it is. Let's say it's just a random home by the seaside, or it's something that's in the middle of an estate that's nothing unlike anything else. That might be a good idea to go down the auction route, because we might say, well, we'll set the price here and let's let the public tell us what it's worth.
So anything with like no comparables, or just something that could be in a really bad state of repair, or just something unique.
Yeah, definitely. It has worked on standard properties, and it's worked for me personally. But I just think sometimes if you price it at the right pricing point on the normal open market and you've got a good estate agent, you don't need to go down that route. The other side with the auction side of things, let's say, is it's perception, as I mentioned, about buyers not necessarily feeling comfortable with it. Sellers often asking the question, well, if my reserve price is here, what if it isn't met? How do I then go back to putting it back at the normal price if I've not done it? The argument is, well, if it never sold at that price, it was never going to. But in reality, it could well have, had it not been packaged with auction and upfront fees to a buyer.
It's subject to that client base as well, isn't it? Which, like you say, more often than not, they're not going to be your typical family home buyer, is it? It's going to be someone who's either after a bargain or...
That's it. Let's think of that, actually. When you say auction, you automatically think of bargain or sold cheap, sold under value. It's not always the case. The analogy I would give is if you were selling a classic car or a piece of artwork, you would auction it, because we would be like, well, how can we value this masterpiece? Let's let the public decide what it's worth. And it would usually sell for a hell of a lot more. Now, it's a bit different with houses, but if it's something that's unique and different, and we said, well, we don't know, let's let the public tell us. So it's not always to be sold cheaper. But if you've got, wrapping it back up there, standard house in a normal residential area, maybe not. Yeah. Right. But to my auction friends who are watching, I still do send recommendations.
So yeah, that pretty much covers everything. That we really want to say thanks again for having your time. To be fair, Jamie, you didn't have to do this. We really appreciate it. Showing us around the gaff, and obviously, if you are looking to sell your property as well, and you bet, how far out will you stretch?
Well, I've got them all over the show, so within reason, but I like to try and keep them more closer to home,
more local.
Yeah.
So around the M29,
M28, M27. This side of Manchester.
Yeah, okay. So you're looking around Manchester side of things, get in touch with Jamie. He's really, really good at what he does. And obviously, if you have liked this and you felt like it's been helpful, you felt like it's been good value when you've been watching, make sure you like and subscribe for some more as well, because we are going to try and do more. I'm still trying to get in touch. Have you got any accountant mates as well? So I've got two that I've been speaking to, and I'm going to name and shame them as well now. Ellis and Rocco, it's Charlie and Aiden. I've been trying to get in with them for the longest time, but obviously they're busy as well. It's like year to year.
Yeah, my accountant, he lives local to us.
Does he?
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to do a sit-down conversation because I'm getting loads of people, should we buy a limited company? Should we have it as our personal name? And then I also think it's good for people that are self-employed and, like limited company directors that are looking to buy as well.
I had this exact conversation with him, with my accountant, 3 weeks ago, talking about buying a property. Should I do it limited? Should I do it in my business? Should I do it myself? So he gave me all those answers.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well, it could be a chat. That
yeah.
Could be a chat to have that. Come down as well then.
Yeah.
Will they do a little free?
I reckon he would. We could meet him at mine.
Yeah, that'd be sound. That. I think that'd be a good crack, because I'm getting loads of people asking about that at the moment. Obviously, I've got my advice that I give out and stuff, but it's completely circumstantial to the individual. But I think it's a good topic to have. But other than the tangent, hope you liked. Make sure you like and you follow for more. There will be a ton more videos coming out, and we hope to see you again soon. Yeah.